Welcome to Zero to Inbox Agent using n8n. So essentially, we want to transform your email chaos into an intelligent system that classifies routes and responds automatically without any code needed. So what you'll be building today is a fully working inbox agent built in n8n that classifies every incoming email, routes it to the right process or right person, and either replies, drafts a response, or notifies a team member, or files it away, all without writing a piece of code. We'll be implementing these three main processes where you can intelligently classify smart routing, automated actions, and then last but not least, if you choose to do so, have a business integration into your CRM. We use GoHighLevel so that teams and tools can turn into emails with traceable outcomes. Again, this isn't just a technical exercise, it's a business asset that you can use to grow your business, your agency, or deploy for clients. So let's get straight into it. By the way, I just wanted to let you know that this tool might seem trivial, but there is a company out here called Fixer, and Fixer does exactly that, and it has a valuation of about $40 million. So it raised in September of 2025 $30 million for their Series B, and everything that they do is exactly what we're doing here. So I'm not saying that you can make $40 million or raise a Series B round. I'm saying that this is something that people obviously like, and this is something that you can either do internally to improve your operational systems and flow and improve efficiency of your team, or white label it and provide it as a service. So the three tool stacks that you'll be using is n8n, Gmail, or any other mail sources that you have, and then an open browser, so an AI gateway. Again, there's an optional power up. You can connect your high level CRM to this to create lead, open tickets, trigger sequences, and obviously this transforms inbox automations into a client acquisition engine, but we'll get onto that later. What we do want to focus on first is wireframing out what this flow looks like. So this aligns everyone on the flow, data, outcomes before even a single node is configured, right? So here's how the system would work at a high level. You'd have first, number one, the trigger, which is where the new message is received. Number two, the AI classifier, which analyzes the entire message. So it reads the subject, body, and assigns the message to one of the four categories based on content and intent. Route to branch, so the workflow splits into four paths. These are examples, right? Customer support, finance and billing, high priority or promotions. Then last but not least, the execution branch, which each branch performs its own downstream behavior, so it allows you to label, reply, draft, notify, create tickets, or even archive it. So this is what the automations would look like. Again, I'll be focusing on the presentation whilst the demo will edit in whilst we go through the presentation. All right, so let's begin. First of all, we'll need to first set up our Gmail trigger. Actually, let me quickly walk through this for you. Here are the steps, simple steps to get it set up. So you want to connect your Gmail account to the Gmail trigger, connect your open router to the API keys in the AI nodes, right here. You want to set up your Gmail labels. So in your Gmail inbox, create a list of labels that you want to automatically have them recognize at. Then define the labels in the text classifier, in your text classifier nodes here. Match the labels in your label nodes here. And then last but not least, you want to customize the action for each label. So is it sending a message, triggering notification, marking the email as read? And then the final test is obviously to test that flow. So in the demo, we're going to customize it and specify it specifically for us. My computer science wife, who is far more technically sophisticated than I am, go through this build out for our own use case. So let's begin. First of all, for you guys, if you want to set this up yourself, you simply need to add the Gmail trigger. So on the first step, search for Gmail and then select the on message received trigger. So this monitors your inbox for new messages. Next, you want to connect your account, which allows you to create credentials, sign into your Gmail, and then you want to automate it. So the Gmail account you want to automate. So if you're self-hosting n8n, you essentially need to configure your oath code to set up the nodes, which are in the resources below. Set polling frequency, so you can choose how often n8n checks for new messages. And last but not least, test the connection. So making sure that when you do send a test email to your inbox with the subject line, whatever, that it essentially fetches the test event, pulls it into the message data, toggle simplify off to see the full payload, right? As well as that, a quick pro tip is that you want to pin the test data after fetching it. So this essentially saves the sample message in your workflow so you don't have to return to the trigger whilst building the downstream node. Brilliant. Now here is just a quick example of ways in which you can categorize your emails. So firstly, you can have 4 email categories. Classification accuracy depends on clear category definitions, right? So is it like, what are each categories representing? Number one, you can have the customer support side of things, which requests for help or troubleshooting, logins, errors, difficulties. Keywords are this, so you'll add that into that prompt. Finance and billing, keywords are this. High priorities, keywords are this. And the promotions, keywords are this. Be specific but concise with those descriptions, because if the classifier starts misfiring, you can basically iterate on the category prompts and then add edge case to keywords. That's sort of how you tune the accuracy without changing architecture. Next, you want to go and build the AI classifier. So the way to do that is to configure the node by following these steps. So firstly, clicking the plus after the Gmail trigger and then add a text classifier. For text to classify, switch to expression mode and drag in both subjects and body variables from the Gmail trigger. You want to add all 4 categories. Again, it varies depending on your use case, but this is an example here. Then you want to write a clear description for each category using the prompts from the previous slide. Very easy, very simple. Then you want to connect to the AI provider. So go to openrouter.ai, generate the API key. Back in AI, you want to add the OpenRouter as credentials in your chat model fields, and then you want to choose a balanced model, so GPT 4.1 or similar to that. Very simple. It will be in this node, and this node over here. All right, branch number 1, customer support automation. So that is specifically this one, and its agent, which you can reply. Pretty cool. What you want to do when the classifier identifies a customer support message, we'll essentially label it, generate intelligent response, and then send it back automatically. So what this does, it's broken down into 3 steps. You want to apply the label. So you want to add a Gmail node set to add label to a message. You want to generate the response. So you want to simply add a AI agent node. So drag in subject and body from the trigger, write a system prompt that defines the tone and troubleshooting approach. Then you want to send that message and reply. So add a reply to message node, use the message ID, and then paste the agent output into the message field, which then the reply appears in the original thread. So this is the system prompt that you can use, copy and paste that into your customer support agent node. Perfect. Next, branch 2, finance and billing workflow. So for finance and inquiries, you want to make sure that the human review comes into this because this can be quite sensitive. This preserves accuracy whilst reducing response time. Broken down into 3 responses. There's labeling the message, which is applying the finance and billing label using the same Gmail action node. There's composing the notification, which builds a structured message using expressions. There's notifying the team, which sends a summary to your billing aliases so the team has who, what, and when in one glance. Right? This is integral because instead of email notifications, which can push structured events into high-level your CRM, you want to create contact, add a note, or open a ticket. Every billing dispute or demo request becomes a trackable lead with SLA tracking and proper handoffs. Fan-freaking-tastic. Now let's move on to number 3, which is high priority escalations. Now, high priority messages, outages, security incidences, executive escalations require immediate attention, right? This is the escalation prompt that I'd recommend you use. Again, you can play with the tone, whatever, and then you can essentially label it as high priority. AI can analyze a summary, and then it can create a draft, which again can be reviewed by yourself or senior member of staff. And last but not least, we also have the promotional mail management. Again, yeah, you know, when you receive all those spam emails, marketing offers, announcements, you can essentially apply the promotional label, mark them as read, and then have the optional ability to archive this, right? Perfect. Brilliant. So, chapter 4, making it production ready. So now that we talked about sort of the theory behind all 3 of those agents, feel free to add any existing flows in there. Let's move on to making it production ready, which is basically between a demo and a business asset. Comes down to 5 operational enhancements. So these turn your workflows from proof of concept into a reliable, scalable system. So the way to do this is by firstly activating the workflow. So toggle it. You want to add an audit log. So at the end of every branch, write a row to Google Sheets or Airtable, whatever you use, with timestamps, message IDs, and categories. You want to build observability. Ideally use Slack. We use Slack a lot for exceptions, classifier confidences below a threshold, or unclassified emails with error or states. And then you have these 2 options where you can essentially connect it to the CRM. So if you want to push actions to high level, you can create leads, assign owners, trigger sequences, and so forth, or you can add RAG for context. So you can pull customer data from your CRM, fetch relevant docs, and then obviously pass that context into the agents. So reducing hallucination and so forth. Your logger becomes your analytical feed. So track volume by category, agent, quality scores, and token spend and resolution time. Here's the typical costs that you can expect with running this system. AI automation costs add up quick if you're not intentional about the model selection. Classifier costs, about penny. Agent generation, about 1.5. And then token savings. So by separating the classifier model from the agent model, you essentially reduce costs by 75% without sacrificing quality. We got you. Don't worry. Now moving on so once you've built this out either for yourself, for your own business, for your own agency, you can even start looking to scale this to multiple clients. So once you've proven the system that works for your own inbox, scaling to client deployment is straightforward but requires some operational discipline. You want to have a template library, right, where you maintain a central repository of system prompts, category definitions, and workflow templates. Client customization, so you want to clone the base workflow and obviously customize the emails to their emails or the agents to sound like what they want it to sound like. You want to monitor the dashboard, so you want to build a centralized view of all client workflows. And then you want to have a pricing structure. So like I said, Fixer is a $30-40 million valuated company. You could, if you were to hand this off as a inbox manager, you could have a setup fee, right? And a monthly retainer plus an AI credit pass-through. So you can essentially show the ROI through time saved and faster response metrics. And as well as that, you can even connect HighLevel to it. It's optional, right? Where you can essentially have, whenever there's an issue, sent to you immediately. It'll notify the team in Slack, automatically creates a support ticket for your support team to look into. Demo request detection. So if you get an email that says, hey, we really want to jump on a call, we want to learn a little bit more about your products and how it works on GoHighLevel, that sequence, or what happens is that gets flagged as new lead or interested or hot lead, and then that can immediately send a notification to the team, which can trigger either a human to call that lead and follow up them, or AI voice and chat to follow up that lead and book them in for an appointment. Very cool things you can do with this stuff, as well as, like I said, RAG, right? You can also add basic agents, which can handle general inquiries, but domain-specific questions do require context. So you essentially want to create your own RAG-based agent to pull relevant information before the agent actually responds. So you cannot say stuff that isn't specific or real to you. You can vectorize your knowledge base. You can retrieve relevant context. You can inject context into that prompt, right? And then generate a grounded response. So this is typically when to use RAG. You can have product-specific technical questions, policy inquiries, customer history lookups, right? So let's say you're an e-com business, you can get past orders, tickets, or interactions, or any billing questions that need extra pen and paper. Now you're done, you're ready. How can we get this production ready, and how can we make sure QA is involved in this process? Because not every email will be sent brilliantly, right? So the way we do this is through 5 steps. We want to build the test suite. There you go. We want to create 20 to 30 example emails covering edge cases, ambiguous categories, multiple topics, and so forth. You want to first then track classification accuracy. So is everything accurate, or are there false positives, negative positives, and so forth? Aim for 95%. You want to redefine the prompt. So you want to iterate on categories, descriptions, and so forth. You want to validate the output. So you want to review the agent, make sure it generates responses. And then you want to run the workflow in parallel with manual processing for about 1 to 2 weeks. The golden rule is to never deploy untested automations to customer-facing emails. Please don't do this. Start with internal inboxes or shadow modes to build confidence. And then KPIs that you should be looking for. Again, these are numbers. Again, you want to justify this to higher stakeholders or big businesses, because what you could even do is you could, just like Fixer, because I think it's like a $10, $20 per month subscription. If you have a full enterprise level corporation, let's say it's $50 a month for this specific service, and you have 1,000 employees, you need to make sure that classification works majority of the time, 95% of the time. You need to make sure that the average response time is accurate. You want to make sure that the time savings are relevant, so that people can see that the metrics are optimized for performance, which justifies price, which demonstrates the ROI to stakeholders. Here are some example monetization and business strategies that I've seen. Again, if you're relatively new or solopreneur, or you're implementing it for your own business and you want to upsell this to any existing clients, you could add this small setup fee, $497, and then $97 per month, perfect for solopreneurs. Professional tiers, right? You can add a higher setup fee and then a higher monthly fee, or enterprise tiers. Again, they have more capital. You can even make it like a 5-figure setup fee and then like a per usage model on the back end, as opposed to a monthly, so that you can recoup more of your money. So that's it, guys. Hope this was helpful. This was the 0 to inbox agent using n8n, helping you streamline your team's operations, your client's operations, your operations, and ultimately saving more time so that you can focus on what is most important to you and your business and your goals. Thank you very much for watching.